thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Kim Morrison.
I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And this week we have
Karen Smith.
Our beautiful Miss Karen is not here, but it's probably not a bad thing, seeing as how our beautiful vegan, raw-eating friend may not be that keen as far as wanting to eat what our guest has to offer, but certainly I think she'd be inspired by the way in which he raises these extraordinary birds. So Cyndi, would you please give us a little bit of an intro as to who our gorgeous guest is, because you and I both know him from our beautiful local markets.
We do. Yeah, I think I met Ewart at the Kawana markets a little while ago, and I remember Pete Evans wanting to do some filming, and he wanted a chicken farm, I think. And I said, well, I know a really good turkey farm, and I know a good turkey farmer, so why don't we go out there? And so Pete and myself and Ewart had fun talking turkey, didn't we, Ewart?
We did. Yes, gobble, gobble, gobble.
It was fun. So Ewart, gobble, gobble, gobble it was. So Ewart has a turkey farm, and I got to tell you, these turkeys were everywhere. They were running amok. If you ask me, they were running amok because they were very happy outside. They looked very healthy. And I just felt so privileged that I was able to come to your farm and see what you are doing. And the more I talk to you, Ewart, the more I realise your knowledge of the poultry industry is something that I think our guests would really like to know. So I think what we'll start. How did you get into turkey farming?
Well, actually, I had a few health issues. And as I was seeing a naturopath who happened to be Wayne, and I actually met him in the US, not in Australia. And I, of course, asked him what did he do. I had a blood pressure running at well where it shouldn't have been, and I wasn't a very healthy man. But anyway, as I got fixed up, one of the things he'd actually suggested that I do look at, because I love the land and I love livestock. I'm a livestock person, and he said, "What was I going to do?" And I said, "Well, I've got my real estate, and I do that." And he said, "Yes, but you've got to have a purpose. What about looking at turkeys?" And of course, we laughed for about a week, and we started to have a bit of a look at what was about. And after that, we went for a bit of a drive and went down into Victoria, where most of the turkeys are grown, to find out what was going on and get a bit of a feeling. And we felt we couldn't do what everybody else was doing, because I was competing against the big guys. So I had to look at something else. And we looked at free range, but looking at free range, and the further we looked at free range, we realised there was nothing different between the free range and what the general turkey was. So we thought, well, there's only one thing that we can do, and that's go organic. And we know, we've tied ourselves to something. We're part of something. And the further we've gone with that and the research that we've actually done in it, we're very pleased that we're in that area.
So just before you go on, Ewart, you just caught me there on something. So when those of us that are at the supermarket or the markets and we see the words free range or free range eggs, what exactly does that mean?
Well, free range to me means that they run in a paddock and they get to chew on a bit of grass and the grubs and all that sort of thing. The free range specifications now is 10,000 birds to the square metre, 10,000 birds to the hectare. So you put that into perspective, and it comes down to something like 3 or 5 birds to the square metre.
But that's hardly free range.
well, this is something we battled with in our business. Like there's a whole stack of angles what you can come at it. When I first started out, I'd be going around in the butchers. I'd say something to the butchers, and they say, "Oh no, we've got free range." I said, "Yes," and what free range is that? What company is that with? They're free to range. It is. They're free to range, and like our birds, and this goes into the poultry industry as well as into the chickens as the turkeys. And it's being able to be free. And I think even Coles has got or one of the bigger companies has got on board and said that they are, the cattle are free range. They run in the paddocks and then they put them in a feedlot. Well, once you do that, it takes 3 months for the pH to change in the animal to get it back to where the pH should be in the animal. So, you can't take something out of the paddock and put it into a feedlot, and they say, well, they are free range. That's dead right, but you've actually changed the pH of the animal so they go from an alkaline to acidic in that process, and then you've got to change it through all the handling in the yards and all that sort of thing. So, what do you call free range? What are the benefits that people are looking for out of the meat? Is that the animal is in that pH range that we're talking about, and you know how hard it is to keep in that particular range.
Yeah. Tell me, what is it, when you discovered this and when you started to see that, 3 to 5 birds per square metre, I mean, in my head, when I think free range, I see them clucking around this massive farm. There's a little clutter of them together with one of their roosters. And I don't know, I just have this whole vision that it's quite organic, I guess, and beautiful. How do you compare, and what were the steps that you took to ensure that what you were going to do was going to be quite outstandingly different? Like, what was the first things that you just went, this is definitely what we're doing, and this is definitely what we're not doing?
Well, with the numbers, in a pen, we have pens of about, or little paddocks of about 3,000 square metres, 3 to 4,000 square metres. And in that, we started at 400, we built it up to 600, we went to 800. When we got to 800, what we found was, in that area, was that the emotional and the bullying started to come into the birds. So what started to arrive was the sickness. We had birds breaking down, and once you get a turkey breaking down, if you understand turkeys, the others will just start picking at it, and within a day or so, that particular bird is, if it's not dead, we're aiming to see if we can save it. Right? So we brought the numbers back to about 600, and that seems to be comfortable. We do less than 600, we'll do 450, we'll do 300, whatever we feel that thing. But the most we'll put in a pen in that size is 600 birds. Because when you have that situation with the emotional and bullying coming into the birds, that's actually passed on to you.
As in when you eat it?
And the yes.
Mm.
I've just been looking up, and these are chicken farms. These are not turkey farms, but these are chicken farms, but it's still poultry. And there's been a lot of discussion about this couple of weeks, as you probably realise, Ewart. And, they're looking at, well, what does free range mean and what doesn't it mean? And it was interesting to see the stocking density per hectare of certain companies. So if we go to Woolworths and Aldi and Coles and Country Fresh, and the ones that we seem to see a lot in the grocery store, we notice that they're 10,000 birds per hectare. That seems very overcrowded to me, whereas when we go to somebody like, there's a little boutique one called Thawa and Long Paddock Eggs, they're in the 150 to 185 per hectare. So those birds that we buy from like Foodland or Aldi or Coles or Woolworths and all of these ones that I'm looking at the moment on this spreadsheet, they would be, we think we're doing the right thing by doing free-range birds, But they'd be quite stressed, wouldn't they?
Well, but I saw a farm this morning. They have little pens, and they shifted them every day. And I said, how many do you put in one of those little pens to shift around? He said, it just depends what age they are. And one of the things that we've found is that we actually put the birds in a container. I'll give you a bit of a process of what we go through. When the birds arrive here, we actually put them in a container and then keep them. And we've got to keep a heater in there. Turkeys are a bit harder to raise than what chickens are, so the temperature's got to be right all the time. And we actually, and I know it's a strange word to say, but we actually flush them, because if we don't flush them, what happens is that the irritation from the chemicals creates the situation where they're picking at each chicken all the time. Now, if they're aggressive when they come in, when they come to me, and I don't do that, out of 800 poults, I've actually lost 400 within a week because of this aggressiveness. And that is and I'll use the situation. This is the way I see it too. When a hen has the egg, it actually passes all the chemical out of that mother into the baby, and you lazy ladies would probably understand that. And that's the same with eggs. I am very picky in relation to what I do with my or where I get my eggs from, because I understand what I go through when I get my pulse in. From there, we do everything possible to get the chemical out of the babies. When we get the chemical out, we actually put hessian over the sawdust, and then within a week we take all that out, because by taking all that out, we actually take that chemical out, and then we go and dump it somewhere else. But from there, within 3 weeks, we're aiming to let those little birds out, because the longer we keep them caged up, what we find is that they won't walk out in the paddock. So when we let them out, we actually are aiming to let them out 3 weeks. Up until that time, we've got to keep them warm. And if we can put a track to the back of the pen, they will walk to the back of the pen. It is so good. But if we take it to 4 to 5 weeks and keep them in the pen, in that thing, they won't walk. The fear is in there. It's like the elephant on the end of the rope. So what we've done is to make sure that the birds can get out and as quick as they can, and be able to forage as soon as they can, because that's where they get the confidence from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to me, if you weren't talking turkeys and you were talking humans, I would almost say it was fairly similar. To me, there's a whole sense of community and obviously cooperation and cohesiveness, and there's obviously a symbiosis between all of them of some beautiful synergistic way that nature creates it to be. So, from my point of view, it makes complete sense. What do you do to stop, like infections and disease spreading? And if you're organic, what does that mean from looking after your birds? How does that all look, Ewart?
Well, from our point of view, what we do is we actually use a mineral, and we actually spray the ground to actually shift the. We have problem with blackhead if we're not careful.
What's
the other
blackhead?
Thing is we spray everything with mineral. Blackhead is a worm, and it gets into the worm, and then it gets into the liver, and it'll kill the birds very quickly. And I can get those birds if I find it happening. If I get one or two that it's happening with, I can bring them up here, and I can give them an extra dose of that mineral, and actually it sort of disperses. And within a couple of days, I've got those birds back up, and I can take them back and put them in the pen. But if I leave them there, the other turkeys, what?
I just think it's so cute that you notice if a turkey's off colour. I think it's too adorable. If you notice one's not well and then you notice to bring it up to the house, it becomes part of the family. It's too flippin' adorable. Oh, I don't know if how I feel the same.
The turkeys were running around the house.
Suzanne won't let me do that. You know that.
Oh, it's adorable.
Well, when I was there, the turkeys... I understand they were doing it for probably Pete and the cameras, but they were in the house. They were in the house yard, and they're so funny because they gobble, gobble, gobble all together. It's the most hilarious thing. You would have really enjoyed it, Kimmy, just listening to these guys just gobbling away.
It just sounds adorable.
One of the things that it is adorable. One of the things that we were speaking about a couple of days ago was food for these for birds. So I remember seeing on Facebook recently that free range doesn't mean organic, and one of the bigger poultry, I guess, manufacturers, I don't know what they are, is claiming that they are free range, but they're feeding genetically modified foods to the chickens. But when I spoke to you, you told me so much more about the feed they were feeding to the chickens or to the poultry and what it's doing to them. Could you let's first talk about the food that you know goes into conventionally grown chooks, not organic, and then what you do.
Well, I'll go back to my father. So my father used to talk about sorghum being a poor man's grain. And, of course, it's a gluten-free grain, and I think over the next year or two it's going to become a major grain in relation to flour, because what we're seeing is poultry has the same challenge in relation to grains as what humans do. And if you feed too much wheat to there's a lot of talk. Everybody will tell you that I buy a chicken and it shrinks so much. They pump them full of water. And these are the responses that people will come back to you with when they talk about it. But the challenge, what I believe is happening and what I see is happening is the fact that those animals have the same problem in relation to internally, in relation to inside the veins, where they become irritated and blow up. So we do feed a little bit of wheat. We have a maximum that we can do that. But if you cook our meat in relation to some of the other poultry, is the fact that you won't get much shrinkage with it, whereas a lot of the other meat will shrink. And I understand Coles actually buys a 1.2 kilo chicken and it will shrink back to 900 grams. So you've actually paid for, when you buy a chicken and before you cook it, you've paid for a 1.2 kilo. That's a big loss in relation to shrinkage. And normally we have people telling us that never feed poultry sorghum, but if they're brought up on it, if they're brought up on it, we don't have a problem there. But we see the same thing with corn. I've been down to the university to have a look at it, and they told me I saw these birds, and they said that
is someone trying to get hold of you, Ewart?
No, the phone's been picked up. The phone's in my office as well as everywhere else.
There's a turkey needing help.
I just lifted the receipt.
Keep going. Sorry, it was really good.
The university said the turkeys didn't look well to me, and I said, "Oh, these turkeys didn't look well," and he said, "Why? What's wrong with them?" I said, "I don't know, but they don't look well. They're pale. They didn't look well." And I said, "Well, what have you been feeding them?" And he said, "Oh, we feed them corn." I said, "Do you understand what corn does to poultry?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, it gives them," and you know, you may have through the times had colic children. I don't know, but when you have a colic, the health of the bird, so that irritation inside, and feeding the GMOs, what we're finding in some of the abattoirs, we're hearing back now in some of the cattle where they're feeding corn, is that all the insides of the animal are actually ulcerated.
Oh God, I can't bear it.
Where the animal has been. But this is what, and I've been talking to a discussions with a guy in Hong Kong, and he was telling me that if you ate a cob of corn every day, and he's done the research on it, every day for a year, if you're not dead, you'll be very close to it because the toxins in it. And if you go back to the history of corn has actually been, is Mexico or somewhere like in those areas, and what they used to do with it is they used to get it and they used to pulverize it. Then they'd put water with it, which actually took the toxins out of it. So the corn as a grain is actually better for you as a chip than it is as a whole cob.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So this is where these are things that are going to come through that, it's creating, and if they're feeding the wrong grains and they're irritated inside, what you're buying is water because they're inflamed inside and they're actually holding the water because you understand that if you're eating the wrong foods, you become irritated, or your system becomes irritated, and you're actually hanging on to the moisture. And I'm not please don't, I'm not a vet or a scientist or any of that. This is what I notice in relation to what we're doing with our birds. So we feed certain grains. We aim to keep to that. If we don't, and that's what gives our meat strength. And we have a lot of people say that, it tastes like turkey. Well, that's the way it should taste, not all water.
The fact that you're on the ground and you're seeing this and you're trialing things and it I think is sometimes far better than being like a scientist that doesn't see this type of stuff. And even though I know that science is very important, I also think that practicality is also really important. And so it's good to see what you're doing. And I do know that there's a lot of science that goes into the feed that most farmers, or not farmers, but big conglomerates, I would think, are feeding their poultry. Would you like to just talk about that? Because we talked about this recently and I found it fascinating.
Well, I've been discussing things with Dr. Richard Allray in the US, and he was talking. We've been having trouble getting eggs out of our turkeys. We've been trying to work out, and he piped up and said, "Ewart, have you thought about it?" I said, "No, well, what do you mean have I thought about it?" And he said, "Well," he said, "what we're finding in the US after 4 generations, the animal becomes infertile because you're actually changing the genetics or changing the DNA of the animal." And Cyndi, you can probably answer what enzyme and those sort of things that are changing. But he was saying to me, and I said, well, is this, I said, that's pretty scary. I said, I think of it as far as poultry is concerned, and we've only got the edge of it. What's that going to do to humans? So once you change if people are eating meat or eating,
it's a good question.
Grains, I can't answer all the questions that are out there because I don't know, but this is what we've been aiming to work out. Why? So there's some of the things that we've been working on in relation to the grains that we feed the birds, and the grains that we feed the birds is so important for one of the things that we're careful of is that we don't make sure that they don't get any of the synthetic methionine, which is an amino acid. And some of the gym guys use that in certain parts of Australia for muscle build up, and it's a synthetic one. And we feel if we're changing the DNA of our animal, that's actually affecting humans too. And I know it's probably
It's just
only a
that
few people. We can only help a few people, and
yeah, and
sorry,
it's just that our generations are it's just that our generations are a lot longer than a poultry's generation. You know, it could be as little as 75 days, or I've even heard 35 days. So we're actually seeing this faster and faster. And what's interesting, Ewart, is that I spoke to Dr. Stephanie Seneff out of MIT when I was doing the interviews for my documentary, What's With Wheat, and she talked about the epigenetics, so, the environment, the food we eat, the chemicals we're exposed to, that type of thing, those epigenetics, playing on our genetics has a generational effect. So she actually was quite clear in that what was happening. And she was a woman that would not eat anything unless she knew it was organic or she'd grown it. She was very much about keeping everything, good for the family, that there was no chemicals involved, because she actually studies the chemicals. Like, she studies Roundup and its effect on the human body. And I know, Roundup's used everywhere these days. And if we're not getting good feed, it could have Roundup on it. So, which has the active ingredient glyphosate, and glyphosate, as we know, stops the shikimate pathway, and the shikimate pathway is a pathway that produces our amino acids. So I'm wondering, Ewart, if, although they are aromatic amino acids, they're your tyrosine and your tryptophan as opposed to methionine, but you just, I think we're playing all the time with human genetics, the amount of exposure that we're having, the generational effect, the chemicals that we're having. And I have to say that knowing that I can come to your place or to your, to the market, and you're there every second week, you're there. And one of the things I love getting from you is your turkey livers. And I know, I've been to your farm, I know they're organic, I know they're free range. They have such a ball, those little gobbles. And I make the best turkey liver pate. I have perfected it like you wouldn't believe. And I would make, I think I get it in 500-gram packs. So I would make one of those every single week.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes I have to, get frozen like quite a bit from you. And other times I know I'm going to be at the market the next couple of weeks, so I only have to grab one or two. So it's really nice that I know that I can get those, but I don't, and that's why I love the markets. So what I want to let everybody know is what I put in my pate and how I do it. So I do have a Thermomix, but if you don't have a Thermomix, you can still do this. So you fry up garlic and onion. So I usually do 1 clove of garlic and 1 onion, and it's usually a medium-sized onion, and I fry that up in butter. And you can, if you're frying it on the cooktop, you can fry it at a higher heat than you can in the Thermomix, and it does change the taste of the pate, I noticed. And both have a different taste, but both are good. And then I put the 500 grams of the livers into, they're all chopped up into either the fry pan or the Thermomix. And I just lightly saute that for about 6 minutes in the Thermomix, and a couple of, you only need about 4 or 5 minutes in the pan. Then I add half the amount of butter that I do of the liver. So if I put 5 grams of livers in, I put 250 grams of butter in. And then, now if I have to have it clean, I will just then add salt and pepper. So if I know someone's coming around that might not be able to have cream, or don't do brandy or Cointreau, I won't add that. But if I do know that I can add that, I will add around, I think, 200 ml of cream, and I think it's 60 ml of Cointreau. And I may add a little bit of allspice and some cinnamon, and oh my gosh, and then I'll add some herbs, and usually I'll add a little bit of coriander, and then I churn it like there's no tomorrow until it's whipped into shape, and then I put it in the fridge, and always put heaps of pepper over the top. And then I use my beautiful organic gelatin that I have here at Changing Habits. And because, what's the point of making this beautiful pate when I can't even find organic gelatin? And I want you to know, Ewart, it was because of you I had to go looking for organic gelatin. Because when you can't get a good one, you're just destroying the whole pate. So then I make up some gelatin. So I put about a tablespoon of gelatin with a cup of about 70 degrees water because I don't want it boiling, and I stir it up, and then I pour it over my pate. And sometimes if I'm feeling really gutsy, I'll just put the pate in one container. Other times I'll put it in a ramekin and then put the gelatin over that, and then I will freeze it. You can freeze your pate. So if you're not like me, who likes to eat about 500 grams a week, you can definitely freeze it in ramekins. So that's the way that's what I do with your turkey livers, just so you know, Ewart.
How many do turkeys have one liver? I'm just checking.
I've written it all down.
So have I. Do turkeys have one liver? I'm just checking they haven't got two. I'm just checking that. There must be very little livers. I mean, how many turkeys' livers are in 500 grams?
They're sizable.
They're sizable. 6 or 8, yeah. No.
6 or 8.
Well, I think the thing is that we aim to do is to clean the liver when the babies come, and through that process, we're always working on making sure that the liver is clean within the birds. We actually put that mineral in the water for the simple reason we feel it's the health of the birds, and so we're actually building their immune system all the time. And that, to me, that's where we're looking at the minerals and how we can get the minerals into the birds through certain types of plants. The other thing we're working on is iodine. I don't know whether you realise it or not, but the selenium is very high in the giblets of the turkey, and there's a lot of good things in turkey, and if we can lift the iodine in the turkey, one of the things that people are short of is iodine. We see that as an important part because it'll benefit the turkey as well as benefiting you.
Okay, so where's those little gobbly-gobbly things you're talking about? Where is it?
Giblets.
What is a giblet? Sorry, everyone
Giblets.
laughing. Sorry, everyone. Listeners are going to laugh now. Now you're making me silly.
Giblets. Yes, the
I'm the
food,
same,
the
I'm
food
not sure
goes
what a
into the
giblet is
bag
either.
inside, and then it goes.
No.
Well, it's where the grain is actually ground inside the turkey.
Oh, so it's its stomach.
Yeah, it's before the stomach.
Oh.
So when you have you opened a chook up?
Well,
Not lately.
only one. No.
No,
one that's
not
got
really.
giblets in it,
Okay,
obviously.
so it goes into. They take their food in, and then it goes into a bag, and then it's fed into what we call the giblet. Now in that they pick up little stones, and it's a muscle, and this muscle works and grinds the grain for them before it goes into the stomach.
Right.
So this is
wow.
Wasn't such a bad question after all, was it? Hey.
No, I wasn't laughing. I just loved how you call it
when
goblets.
we first started. When we first started, we were getting feed from a particular company, and they were making it all fine all the time, and that was so. We learned a lot through that, and when we started making our own feed and making the grains more whole, we found that the birds were grinding it, but they didn't need as much stone. They didn't pick up as much stone. We found that the giblets were able to. We learned a lot through feeding the birds because they have to they have to get a certain amount of whole grain, because this is part of creating the enzymes in the stomach is to do a certain amount of work. If it's not doing any work, the birds don't do as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. And so the little rocks, where are the little rocks? Are they just on the ground where they're
inside,
running around?
Sorry, they pick them up. Yeah, what actually happens is I actually put crusher dust in the pen, and I put it at the end of the containers. And when we put them in there, we've done it because there's a lot of minerals in crusher dust, and they get them naturally.
Oh, wow.
So we just put them in, and so they can actually fluff it up, and pick the stones out, and go around and pick the stones up off the ground and all that sort of thing. Because this is all part of the process of keeping them healthy.
Right, and getting them into their natural environment and them doing the thing that naturally they should be doing, as opposed to, when they're in cages. And is this the same for chickens, Ewart?
Well, I'd be doing the same for chickens, yes. Yes, I'd be doing the same for chickens. I'm not.
So the ones in the cages, are they able? Do they get that, or? Well, I don't want to know about the ones in the cages. Actually, I think it's just so sad. What we've done to them, and even I think 10,000 per hectare seems pretty scary too. And the whole issue of free to range and free range, I didn't even for some reason consider that. It gets frustrating, very frustrating when, as the consumer, we have lost our understanding of production. And I think if we are really interested in the food that we're consuming and the food that we're giving to our family, I believe that we need to become interested in production. And I think that's why I mainly love the markets, because I've got the fisherman across from you, I've got the lettuce lady who also has tomato and cucumber, and she's got all her herbs and watercress. Like I speak to her, like that. They were a couple, Ewart, I don't know if you've met them. Oh, I'm sure you have, but they were a couple that both have had cancer and are trying to reduce all chemicals out of their life, and have created this amazing little business, and they have the best lettuce. I don't like getting it from anyone else at the market. And then you have the banana people down the corner, and who else is in there, Kimmy, that we always go to?
Well, I love the cheese man. I love going across to get my nuts and seeds. There's the kimchi and sauerkraut guy. I go to Whole Nooks for my beautiful almond milk and almond butter. It's just, and then of course I get a smoothie. But it's this little ritual, and going to your markets is really like doing a Saturday morning catch up. I mean, what really should take 20 minutes takes me probably a good hour and a half, 2 hours by the time I've said hello to everybody, and everybody's admired my cart, I might add.
I was waiting for that. Mm-hmm. Why don't you talk about your cart, Timmy?
Oh my gosh, I'm surprised Ewart hasn't seen me strutting as if I've got a giant-sized poodle next to me. Honestly, I wanted to get one of those. I wanted something to take to the markets because my kids don't always like coming with me, and my hubby's always away. So I was going to get one of those pull along behind you ones, and my brother was going to buy me one for my birthday, and I said to him, I just don't like them because they just remind me of old ladies, no disrespect, but I just didn't feel like I was ready for a pull-along cart that had funny flowers or colours all over it. So it took me months to decide, and then I was just about to go and buy one at the Maroochydore at our plaza here, and because I didn't think there was anything else. And the next minute I run into Mark Postles, who's a chiropractor. His beautiful daughter Ellie goes to me, oh my gosh, don't get one of those. You need a Clax. And I've just gone, I need a what? Anyway, so I go online to Clax, C-L-A-X, and if you look up Clax cart under Google, It's a $250 trolley, but it's double layered. It's like taking a pram to the markets, and then it all folds down, and then I take my cart off the top when I get home. All I have to do is then take the carts inside because the trolley's all been folded down. Oh, look, it's so light, it's easy. I get all my week's shopping into both carts. It is the best thing out, and I have to say to you, everyone comments on it when I'm at the market. And then I have a competition each week, how many people are going to ask me about it. The record is 12. It would have been more, but when I'm talking to other people, they don't interrupt me. So anyway, I'm just saying everyone needs to go and get a Clax. And I should have a commission or something on this because I reckon I've sold truckloads.
Look, I think you should too, because the way she talks about it is hilarious. Whereas me, I went and bought the $20 at the $2 shop red thing that you pull behind you, and I think it lasted me 3 weeks and the wheels fell off.
And you look like an old lady. I'm just saying.
Well, I just want you to know the person who broke it was my daughter. She must have overpiled it. I don't know what happened, but yes, I must get my Clax. I must get it, and I think it's just brilliant.
Ewart, can I ask you, as far as the turkeys go, how big is your farm?
We've got 135 acres here. We do cattle as well as turkeys, and we're making some changes now because I've got a number of wholesalers asking me whether I do chicken and sausages, beef sausages and lamb sausages, because as you know, our turkey sausages are pretty special sausages. They came about. I had never been a processor. I never wanted to be a processor, but I've become a processor because I couldn't get people to do what we wanted, and we couldn't get the consistency. I still get people to make product for me, but it's all under, we mix our own meals and that sort of thing. And it's pretty amazing when, a wholesaler says, well, we buy sausages in and we can't eat them. And the sausages that we originally started, we had a grandson that wouldn't eat meat. And when he wouldn't eat meat, and we're a family of, and we go back generations in relation to eating meat. And here's one child that wouldn't eat meat. And we found out it was through the sensitivity of the chemicals coming through the meats and what was put on them or whatever. So we developed a sausage around this little boy. And, of course, he eats meat now. So I couldn't let that happen.
You often find that. These types of foods are produced.
Keep going.
Sorry, Ewart, I interrupted you. Yeah.
You often
find that. But you often find that is that people come up with these great ideas in the food industry and the Clax industry because of the need. And I'm sure Clax started out because it was somebody like you and me, Kim, that our husbands don't want to come, our kids don't want to come, or your husband does come when he's there, but my husband doesn't want to come, and neither do the kids. And we're finding ourselves carting stuff backwards and forwards. And the same with the food industry is that you find that when there's a need, so or even the cosmetic industry, Kim, and I find it's these passionate individuals such as Ewart that says, right, we have a problem with one of our grandchildren. What can we do to help? How can we make it? And then you make it, and then the whole world wants to know about it. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because you kind of said it, and then I wasn't sure exactly what that meant, but you said you didn't want to become a processor, but you are a processor. Does that mean you kill the turkeys?
Well, we organise that, but we go through the process of not only the killing, but also the cutting up. We get people to cut them up for us. We're there ourselves.
Wow.
We get people to, when I say I'm a processor, I have to organise it all, because basically the first thing is told to me is that our product is too dear. When you go to a butcher, he says, "Oh, your product's too dear," and I said, "Well, did you ask the customer whether the product's too dear?" And it's not the customer.
I agree with you,
problem,
Ewart.
it's the people in between.
I'm with you because I went to the butcher. It's called the Paleo Butcher because I'd run out of chickens. And I went into them, and my husband said, go to the paleo butcher. He's really good. So I went to him, and he had Lilydale chickens. And I said, are they organic? And he said, no. I said, you know they feed them GM products? And he said, yes. I said, well, why don't you have organic? And he said, because it's too expensive. I said, well, I'm walking out this door because I want free-range organic. So I don't know how expensive it really is, and I said that to him. I said, well, I'm not buying that. I'm prepared to pay for it. So you're right. You are so right. And so therefore I have to go out to, I have to go 15 minutes away, 20 minutes away in order to get what I know is an organic free-range chicken. It's just, it's infuriating, isn't it? And that's why I love you, because you just, you're not there's no middleman between the grower and you, and we can get, it's so funny, I don't even really look at the price. I just know that this is what I want, and food's more important to me than anything else. Like I don't buy a lot of clothes. I don't buy, I don't smoke. I have the occasional whiskey, everybody, okay. And I do put the Cointreau and the brandy in the Pate.
I'm just going to say, you say you have the occasional whiskey, but you have Pate every day and it's your Pate. I'd like to go as far as calling you a complete and utter lush. I'm just saying.
Well, it is still food, isn't it? It's food. I spend all my money on food.
Well, it's been around a long time. The whiskey just hasn't been produced in the last 50 years. It's been around a long time. So
yeah, exactly. Thanks, Ewart, for that.
But that's been our biggest challenge, is the fact that we had that resistance. We had that resistance, and if you're eating quality meat, the thing is you don't have to eat as much. And he comes back, like one particular person rings me, he gets our ham, and he said, I was buying 5 and 6 I was eating 5 and 6 pieces. He said, I'll get you a ham and I'll put it on a sandwich. He said, I eat 1, maybe I'll eat 2. And he said, it's just so different. And it's not, and we do it with Himalayan salt and Rapid sugar. And I had a butcher that was doing it for me, and he said, I wish you'd stop this witchcraft stuff. I haven't started this. This was done a long time before I ever started. My father used to talk about, meat being, they used to kill the beast in the road and then roll it in salt and just run it in salt and run it in salt. That's all they had to cure. There was no such thing as quick cure and those sort of things in those days.
Can you tell me, as far as your family is... Sorry.
You're so right.
I just wanted to check, you said about your family, your dad. He's obviously passed this knowledge down to you, and your son is at the markets as well, which we always have a little chuckle every time we go past one another. I want to know, is the whole family, obviously there's, and you say that the feeling goes into the meat, which goes into what we eat. I'm very much a part of that. How do you, and how long has your family been in this industry, and what do you do to maintain that longevity of that sense of importance around how the animals are treated, looked after and grown?
Well, I think it's come through my father was a stockman. We've all grown up as stock people, and it's educating Douglas along the way, or him seeing and we talking about things like, I'll go down to the pen and I'll say something that I see. I used to feed 15,000 sheep out at St George when we were out there, and we had a situation where we used to grow the grain. I've sort of always been taught to try and, the last thing that you want to take off the farm is the meat that you produce. So that's what we've aimed to do, is to produce that in relation to the length of time. My grandfather used to buy cattle in Queensland, all through the north of Queensland and the west, and then take him down to Gundawindi, and they'd put him on a train, ship him down there, and ship them to Sydney, and he'd sell them in the Homebush sale yards, and then go all the way back. He'd have the next lot of cattle on the way down, be down to Sydney before the facts had actually got through to them out there that they knew what the prices were of the cattle that they were sending down. So it's the whole thing. We don't have those stock people around, and to hang on to those stock people now is a big thing, and then getting that knowledge, because there's a lot of old guys around that have a lot of knowledge, and it's, we're going into the technology side of it, and I believe we need the technology to service our customers and keep in touch with our customers. But if we lose the animal husbandry side of it, and let the science take over, the science is not necessarily going to be good for us. We've still got to keep those people that like, it's very easy to give an animal a needle to think that it's putting weight on the animal, but if it's changing the DNA of the animal, that's a different story, and that's what a lot of these things are doing. And that is my opinion. So I think it's keeping those stock people about, because we are going to be eating meat for a good while. It's very easy to put a beast in a feedlot and feed it a grain, but is it good for you?
I think it's wonderful, and I think that whole sense of family is some of the most important things we can really honour. And it's, again, going back to what Cyndi always says, which is around culture and tradition. And I mean, I don't know why we've gone so far away from what's been done for so long. And to hear you curing ham with Rapadura sugar and salt, I'm sure that just warms your heart, Cyndi. Is there any way people can find you, Ewart? How do we find? Does it matter where we are in Australia? And I'm sorry or do you do international sales? And if you do, tell us, how do people get hold of you, and how do they get your happy turkeys and all the goblets?
Well, we have a gobble. We have a website.
Those things.
But if you put in
Sorry,
turkeys
Ewart.
or organic turkeys, we come up. So we come up, and I'll probably go back to where I was a minute ago in relation to the supporting the farming industry is a real challenge for the communities to support, because when you're doing this type of thing, because there's not the money in it where you're just turning cash over, businesses, we build assets more so than we build, it's not something, you got to love what you're doing, otherwise you don't do it. We can all get a product and just turn a product over, but from a farming point of view, there's a lot more to farming in relation to, and my family has always been where there's always been somebody in between. From our point of view now is that we're actually being able to grow our product, but we're also being able to be in touch with our customer. And that's a big thing, because you can actually, so in relation to getting in touch with us, they can either go on the website, they can ring us. We're not always on the phone, but we have an answering service. We're getting better at it. We're aiming to, so they're the things. Or Facebook, of course, and it's GreenAg on the Facebook page.
Yeah, it's GreenAg, so GREENAG, organic free-range turkeys. But what I did was I just went in and put organic turkeys, and you came up, and that was even on Facebook. I just looked up that and you came up. So they should be able to find you pretty easily. And your phone number is 0746300088.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay,
well, we actually have somebody in
so they'll be able to
distributing
find you, and they'll be able to get you Oh, you do?
Yes. We have somebody, those 300 gram packet of sausages actually sells for $21 in Perth.
Sounds wonderful.
So I just wanted to say, Ewart, and to our listeners, that unfortunately, I don't think the sound has been that great for us, and I hope people have been able to hang in there during this recording. And for whatever reason, we get told sometimes that technology doesn't work or things don't happen, but your passion, regardless, your absolute commitment and your dedication to us all getting the best turkey goblets out there is probably second to none. I'm just joking. But the other thing that you do sell that I notice at the markets is you actually sell the bones for people to make broth and things like that. So just tell us a little bit about, okay, it's not that I really want to know, but I want to know that the bird is used. Does it get nervous at Christmas time? There's my first question. Gosh, those poor turkeys. But secondly,
well, they've actually changed their tune at Christmas time. They're going around moo moo. They're not going gobble gobble anymore.
They've figured it out.
It reminds me, there's that wonderful, oh my gosh, I could just see it now. There's a joke, I will share it. It's actually quite funny. There's two cows and they're standing in a paddock, and it was, not long after the mad cow disease comes out, and one cow says to the other, well, at least I won't be affected by that mad cow disease. And the other one goes, what makes you so sure? And he goes, well, I'm a squirrel. So I'm just thinking that maybe your turkeys at Christmas, they think they're a cow. One other quick question though: did bird flu affect you, or was that just a massive, news media sensation? Did it affect you?
Well, of course it can affect me, but the thing is, what we're finding with this, and is if you look at some of the problems, like you talked about mad cow's disease, that is a mineral deficiency. And I believe that while ever we binding up the minerals in the ground with chemical and fertiliser, the animal is not getting those. So if you're going to help the animal, we've got to look after the soil. And that's a really, really biggie because, or in my opinion, it's a biggie because it's important. The only way you're going to get the minerals is either through the feed or through what they're eating in the plants. So, I think the minerals.
Ewart, I just have to say something on that point. My gosh, it's not rocket science, is it? I mean, it comes back to the way we eat, the way our animals are eating. The more chemicals, the more harsh it is on the system, the more we affect the natural rhythms and symbiotic relationships between animals, plants and the land, the more we're going to mess up society. I mean, what you're saying is exactly how we're thinking, which is why I know Cyndi loves you so much and all of what you do, is it's treating the land and the animals with the utmost respect. It's having honourable ethics around looking after these amazing animals that do give us sustenance in such an incredible way. And it's having farmers like you and stockmen that truly are committed to giving us the absolute best with their love, heart and passion. Is that how I could sum you up as a family and a business?
Yes, of course. And, it's making sure that the water is right. Like, how scarce is the water that we have? And yet we're doing what we're doing with it is just completely amazes me because, if you, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I bet. The basic is that you care about the food and the water.
So, the water is so valuable and the soil, to get the goodness for the animal. They need good water, and we survive it. It just makes so much difference to have. Well, it's a really good feeling to go down there go outside our house here of a morning, and all I got to do is shut my door and Cyndi, you know how far we're away, and we can have a row of birds down there, and as soon as that door clicks, every bird walk towards the front fence to talk to me of a morning. And of course, I do go down there and talk to them. But
it's adorable.
And you probably think I'm
and
mad.
Gobble, 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 gobble. It's hilarious.
Is there video on the website? I want to see it.
It's but they fly from the back of the pen to the front of the pen, just to have a conversation, because we've got to all be in sync. The animals got to be in sync with us, and when we go down there to deal with the processing and that sort of thing, they're walking around us. We're not. They're there with us.
Are you saying
and
we're
we let them out,
processing?
and
You mean killing them?
Yep.
Okay, so they'll be talking away, they'll be chatting away, and Frank's gone. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh my gosh, okay, well, there's a sacrifice there. But you're right, it's not killing them. It is a beautiful, and it's really hard for people that are vegetarian or people that think it's cruelty to animals. The way I get my head around it is truly that it is an incredible cycle, and there is a life cycle. And to me, if you have happy cows, happy sheep, happy lambs, happy pigs, and happy turkeys, then it kind of gives that whole beautiful energy across the thing, and everything seems to flow so much better rather than the rape and pillage and the absolute devastation that we cause into these ecosystems. And I just from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you so much for being someone who is truly committed to making sure that you have happy turkeys, but more importantly, from the happy turkeys we have beautiful happy meals that are the best and the ultimate for giving our children and our families. And that takes commitment, guts and courage to step out and do something that's not what everyone else is doing. So I salute you and your gorgeous son and your family, and I'm just so grateful. Apologies for the call as in the staticky, but I really, what I hear and what I've heard from you is mind-blowing. So thank you so much, Ewart.
And also, I think, Kim, for our listeners, that Ewart lives out west, and he lives a fair way out, and so it's not always easy to get that clear Skype. So good on you for hanging in there if it has been a bit staticky, but we've enjoyed it, I know that much.
Yeah. So, Ewart, any final parting gobbling words or anything we need to hear?
No, I think I think it's been great. I think this is fantastic, really, because it's not only me. There's a lot of guys out here. We're passionate about what we do, but there's a lot of other guys that are passionate. We put in the effort to do the markets up there. Not many people sort of do that, and they're still out here looking after there. And it was a big commitment because we felt that people had to know that the product is out there. And in Australia, turkey is not necessarily a main meal, but it's becoming more and more a main meal. People are starting to understand the value of all. Poultry is top of the list of the poultry. Turkey is at the top of the list is in relation to what the things that you can get out of it. And I think if we can get to people, the things that they need instead of having to go to the chemist or go and get vitamins and all that sort of thing and get it out of the soil, it's far more beneficial and far more able to be utilised in the body. So, it's really the farmers that, and the biodynamic and the organic farmers that have really put the effort into making sure that and I've heard a guy that's been doing conventional for a long time, and they are doing some organic eggs now, and they said, there might be something in this organic thing, and they've ribbed us for a long time. So,
well, and I say that if you want to get some beautiful, healthy meals and food for you, they can come to you. And if they want to be a closet drinker, just make Cyndi's Pate, and they'll be able to get as much alcohol as they like without even being sprung. So, Cyndi, I'm going to suggest that in the notes that you put the recipe, please, because we're going to get inundated.
Right.
We're going to get inundated for that recipe. I have written it down if you need me to type it up for you, but I've got it here, and all I can see is a massive amount of Concho, brandy, and whiskey for some reason. But
and you know what? There is a sip on the side.
Oh my lord! a legend. We love seeing you at the Kawana markets every Saturday, or every second Saturday, and definitely at the Noosa markets. And is there any other markets you're at, just out of question, in case anybody asks?
Yes, we do Toowoomba now. We are looking at doing some in Brisbane, and we are aiming to expand, but I've got a bit of a process going on at the moment, a lot of work and a few changes, big changes this year, and because we feel that, you know, we've got to expand and lift our income, because lift our income in relation to, so that we can take advantage of some of the government. The government won't assist us. I've done a lot of research and spent a lot of money into research, but they won't assist us unless we're a certain size, so I've got to get up to that size.
Well, let's hope this podcast helps get you there. You are amazing, and you do ship around the country, I'm assuming, frozen turkeys?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
It's in Perth, it's in Darwin, it's in Cairns.
Well, you know what, listeners? There is over 2 million subscribers to the Wellness Couch podcast and our shows. So, you know, even if 1% ordered a turkey this week, we might get you there. So, you know, if you want to see more farmers like Ewart out there, then I'm putting it out there to you, beautiful listeners. If you've hung in there through the sound difficulties on this one, then you've hung in there long enough to hear us to all put the challenge out. How do we support these beautiful farmers and their ethics and their values? Is putting our money where our mouth is. And I really encourage you to so go to their Facebook and website pages, the GreenAg Organic Free Range Turkeys. That's GREEN and then AG, AG, Organic Free Range Turkeys. Google that in your search engines and on Facebook, and let's give beautiful Ewart and his family the big thumbs up by ordering a turkey. So I'd just love to say that if anyone has any more comments or anything like that, please go to our Facebook page, all the W's, facebook.com/up for a chat. You can also go to the wellnesscouch.com/up for a chat if you'd rather place your comments there. Please go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. You know how much that means to us. And certainly, more importantly, make sure you share this absolute important message of what it means, that when people say it's hard to find the right food, as Cyndi always says, it just takes a little bit of effort on your behalf to search, find, and you can always ask the question here on our page and we'll find out for you. So on that note, Ewart, thank you again very, very much. It's been an absolute privilege. And to you, gorgeous Cyndi, I'm so rapt you brought Ewart to us. It's been a really awesome hour. So on that note, team, have a great week. Look after yourselves. Keep firing. And always remember to tune in to Up for a Chat every Tuesday morning. We look forward to talking to you next time. All the best now. Take care.
Thank you.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.